So I've been wanting to go over what's been inside my kit bag for quite a long time now, and I finally got a sort of collection that I'm proud of and that I'd like to show off, and kit that I'd actually suggest to arborists aspiring to be as efficient as possible. So I'll quickly just do a breakdown. Helmet. I'm sure you've all seen these. It's the Protos Integral Arborist helmet. I've got the 3M earmuffs on there. The reason why I use the 3M rather than the Protos earmuffs is the 3M are actually cheaper spec. You do have to buy these special brackets. You can normally buy them together. It's around 50 to 60 pounds. For my filming, I use a GoPro Black 7. I am looking to upgrade this setup, but something that's really awesome is this magnetic swivel alligator clip from GoPro. It allows you to clip onto branches and film some really cool shots, so I recommend getting one of them. For my Silky, a lot of people use the curved Tpott Silkies, but I've used both, but right now I'm going to be using the GoPro 300. It's a straight edge Silky. You just get a slightly better cut when you're doing the back cuts, because you get an even hinge. You're not getting that moon shaped hinge, and it's a good pruning saw as well. Moving on to what's inside this bag. So here's where I keep my spikes. So I've gone for the distal geckos. It's probably a slightly older version now, but they work just fine. They've got the straps on the bottom and the Velcro on the top. I have used the double Velcro. Now the double Velcro is slightly more convenient because it's easier to get that bottom strap on, but the double Velcro bottoms will break. There's like a little D-shackle bracket that just bends and twists, so these are a bit more robust, and if you're spending your own money on them, I'd get these, and this is nice and replaceable. So it's a good idea to keep your spikes in a separate bag or just outside your bag, because you don't want them spikes spiking a hole in your ropes or in the bag itself. So a new purchase that you guys will know is the Notch Rope Runner Pro. I've not got its own little protective case yet, so it's just living in here. But I might buy a little camera case or something slightly padded with a zip that I can quickly put it in and out of. Now this has been absolutely fantastic. I've not used it much, but I've dialed it in, had a little play with it. There's a comparison to my hand how big it is. It's a similar size to like a rope wrench setup, and it's about as bulky as the Zigzag Plus, but it's been really awesome. It's been really fun to play with that. I've turned the top pin around because I'm right-handed. People on my videos suggested turning the top pin around if you're right-handed, because that can swivel around and catch your gloves and catch your hands. So I've done that, and that does actually make a big difference, so that's pretty awesome. It's been really good. Really recommend this. A review for this will be coming soon, but I have my first impressions down in the description. There'll be a link for that video. Okay, so moving on to the actual bag itself, a kit bag. This is a 90-litre bag. Now, I think a lot of arb stuff is overpriced when it comes to bags and rope bags and throw cubes. It's ridiculously expensive. A bag 90 litres that says Stein or Husqvarna or any other of the major brands would be about 110 quid, 120 quid. This from Mountain Warehouse was £50 for a 90-litre bag, and it's got all the same things. It's got straps to go on the top, it's got the carry bag, it's got the straps so that you can wear it like a rucksack. It's got exactly the same features, but half the price. So that's a little tip, save some money. Opening it up, again it has the same features. It has zips on the top to store your things, zips on the side, and a really reinforced bottom as well. So moving on to what is in the bag. I think I'll go through the main items first and then go over a few of the extra little bits I've got in my kit that I think you guys might like. This is the Tpott Tree Motion Super Line. Now this is the single bridge version. I bought this when there was only the single bridge version. Now there's the Tree Motion Evo and the Tree Motion Essential. This is basically the essential version of the original Tree Motion. The Super Light doesn't have quick release buckles. It's got a cinching front and cinching legs. The benefit of this is the Tree Motion only has a minimum 30 inches waist. Now I'm about 29, 28, so the Tree Motion regular is slightly too loose on me, but this has a minimum of around 28, even though it's not advertised as such. The fact that it doesn't have the buckle, it allows you to get really cinched up and nice and tight, so I really like that. Moving on to the next essential item is the side strap lanyard. This is the ART Rope Guide 2 with the swivel. Now this has been really awesome. I haven't used it much, but it's a big upgrade from what I have used, which is the hitch cord setup with a little micro pulley and the mechanical rope grabs. I've also used the Zillion, and I went for this just because it was a lot more compact, and with the Zillion I found I was accidentally catching the links and it was being a bit jumpy, whereas there's nothing to catch. You almost pull down and it just goes, catches and then pull down and it goes, and feeding the slack is super smooth. It recommends a slightly thinner rope. This is about 11.5. It's a version of the Poison Ivy. So I've just got a wide open gate on the top. I like these ones because I can operate with one hand, and it's a bit bigger to easily get onto my side diesel. Another essential item, the ropes that you use. I've got two Adrenalines. One is this lovely punk colour and one is the original colour. They perfectly slide over mechanical devices because of this soft sheath. It can be a bit bouncy. It is a dynamic rope, so it will be some stretch, but it's not as much as other dynamic ropes, and it's just really nice in the hand. It can be a bit wiry if you're doing a lot of DRT because it's so thin. An 11.8mm rope, but it feels a lot thinner than some of the 11.5 mils like the Poison Ivy, just because of that thin sheath. It's quite hard to grip in the hands, but because of that it runs super nice through the systems. So for SRT it is perfect, but it is a SRT and DRT compatible rope, so that's why I got these two. Instead of having the splice on the end, it's called a splice, and that means it can be fed through, say the zigzag, it can be fed through from the top end. You would have to remove this ID, but it does have an ID on the bottom. Because we're not on 13mm ropes anymore, natural crotching around limbs is kind of an old practice. It's still something I do regularly, but if you are buying the ropes yourself, you'll notice a lot more wear if you're doing natural crotch anchoring. A good thing to avoid the wear on your rope and on the tree is a cambium saver, friction saver, pulley and sling, just something that's going to take away that rope on wood friction. So what I've got here is a Stein cambium saver, but the rope kind, and I've just attached a prusik loop and a Tupperberger ring. Now that's just to save a bit of money. You can buy the complete Stein friction saver. Tupperberger do a friction saver as well, but it costs quite a lot more. But I think just the friction saver here was £40, and then I had this lying around anyway, so I just made it up for £40 instead of £80. Rappel right down to the ground and retrieve it from the ground, as long as you remember to put that retrieval ball on. That's a great bit of kit. Moving on, I've got two throw cubes. Throw cubes are ace. Open it up, twist it round, and there you go. I find the 12 ounces are just a bit too light and they tend to get stuck up the trees, so I prefer the 14 ounces. It's best to have two because these can get stuck quite easily. So on one of the lines I'll be running the Notch rope runner, but on my second line I'll either be running DRT hitch climber on this setup here, or another SRT rope wrench setup with the hitch climber. Now they pair together. I'm sure you've all seen these, but it can switch from SRT to DRT really easily by just adding on and taking away one carabiner and adding on the rope wrench. Now this is the ISC rope wrench. It's absolutely amazing, the Singing Tree version. It's been great. I've had this for ages. There's a bit of fraying at the top, but it's ace. It's got this reinforced plastic on there to protect cutting with the Silky and just give it that rigid feel. This has been really ace. I've gone for the 8mm cordage, about 75 centimeters. This is the Phoenix 8mm hitch cord. The reason why I go 8mm is you should always go about 3mm down. I'm on an 11mm rope, so 8 will be perfect. And yeah, that's my second system, the hitch climber DMM setup. It's an ace setup, really perfect, really cheap. It's a great first addition to any climbing kit. I may upgrade this to the zigzag at some point, but to be honest, I'm not really a fan of the chicane, the SRT version of the zigzag. I'm not really a fan. I much prefer the hitch climber. So that's why I went with this setup. I think it'll be a perfect second edition using alongside the Roadrunner. So moving on to my foot ascenders. I've got the right-footed quick step foot ascender by CT, now known as Tech, and I've got the Haas knee ascender that uses the Tech chest ascender, and this Haas has been perfect. It's super awesome, allows for really fast ascent, and puts all the strain onto your legs. I'm sure everyone's seen people doing the rope walking SRT, but if you haven't, there's a how to climb SRT video. I'll leave that link in the description, just to check out how to use all the gear kind of shown here. This is a must if you get into advanced tree climbing. Even buying the quick step foot ascender if you're on DRT with the zigzag or hitch climbing, it's a must. It saves all that thrusting. This is a must purchase. It's about £35. So these slings by Lion, they're absolutely amazing. They're an arborist's best friend. They're super strong. You can get them in a variety of different sizes. These are 1 meter. I find these to be quite a good size for lashing around limbs and using as redirects. There's all sorts of usages. Even in aerial rescue, these can be really handy. So they're definitely great. It's worth having at least 2 of these in your kit. I've got about 4 or 5 of various different sizes. I wouldn't go too big. I like the 1 meter to 1.5 meters, but even getting the smaller ones are cool. The way I keep these neat on my belt is I just clip them on, give them a little swizzle, then clip the end back on, and then repeat, give it another swivel, clip back on, and it's nice and neat there. You can even do one more if you really don't want any loops, because if you leave it dangling, you're only going to get it caught or maybe spike it. If you really want it neat, practically takes up no space. It can come in handy. Sometimes even when you're grabbing a slippy branch, you can put that round and then grab onto the sling and cut it, and that way you're not going to drop it. So this is a neck tether. You can buy specialist neck tethers or a chest harness to ascend the device, the SRT device. I just use this with a little Stein clip at the moment. I probably will be upgrading this. This is just a retired hitch cord that I use, and I find it works well, but I probably will get the actual neck tether just because it's got a bit of a bungee in there. It's a bit nicer on the neck, but that's what I use. I also use the 4 SRT chest harness, and that's really good as well. So I've also got a steel core flip line, and on the steel core I use this tree hog rope grab. You can also get an ISC rope grab. They're basically the same. I kind of got put off these because on this tree hog one, all it takes is this pin to come out, and then you slip in right off, and your device is falling apart. And on the ISC one, it's a little bolt with a little nut, and I was once climbing and I was ascending up back when you could climb on one line. I looked down and the nut had fallen off the end and it was hanging right off. Before I disconnected from my main line, I spotted it, but that could have been potentially deadly, so I've kind of been put off from this design. So I have a little ISC micro pulley. This is good for redirects. It's just a tiny little pulley for your main line. You can sling that round onto a branch and it's zero friction. Again, it's similar to the friction saver, but the issue with these is you've got to go back up to the top to retrieve them. So I just wanted to go over roughly every carabiner that I've got. I might have a few others, but these are the main ones, and I've got multiple of these different versions, and each one kind of has a different use. So to be honest, the most versatile and one of my favourites is the DMM Oval, just because of that O shape. There's no real way of side loading it. When you put it into any sort of system, it likes to auto correct itself, and it's a nice and solid, robust design. Still free lock-in. I find it stays clean really nice. It's quite a perfect product by DMM. Similar design. This is slightly more like a D shape, but I'd still say it's classed in the O category, and this is probably just a more budget version than the DMM. It's a tree hog design, but again, it's still been pretty good. It's a bit sticky, so I need to clean that. The sizes are pretty similar as well, but that has been a good carabiner. I've got a few of them. Now another one from Tree Hog. This is more of the pear shape. Now that's awesome as well because it's nice and open and it's nice and easily clipped onto things. I like to use the pear shapes. more for my side strop really, but it does have various other uses, and even on SRT it does give a lot of space to clip all your extra bits on. Again, just a slightly bigger version, more beefed up version, the ISC Gecko. I've currently got this one on my side strap anyway. I don't have as many as these, but I do like the big opened space. There's a lot of room on there. Now these are cool. I've got an ISC version and a Stein version. These are just little clips you can use for attaching onto your Silky. You wouldn't want to put life support on this, but it's good just to clip little things on, maybe your water bottle or things like that. It is rated quite high, even though it isn't for PPE. So this is a steel screw-late locking carabiner. A lot of people use the Notch Quickie for their retrievable canopy ties with SRT, but I've been experimenting with using this because it's steel. I'm not as worried about side loading. And then this style carabiner, it's another amazing product by Climbing Technology. It's got this locking section so that if you put a sling around there or you use that as your side strap, this is the main anchor on the Roadrunner Pro. It's going to lock in there, and there's no way of whatever device you've clipped in is going to be sliding around and side loading. It's always going to stay in that ideal position. I'd say my favourite is probably the DMM oval. So that's it really. I've got a few other little minor bits, but that's all the main bits of kit, and I hope that was helpful. I've had a lot of questions asking what's in my kit for a while, so it's nice to finally answer that. I've got a few more bits coming. So I've got the Notch Quickie. I'm trying out the DMM Bat extra small rigging plate to be used as my bridge ring for the Roadrunner, because you can't attach, for DRT you can't attach on the singular ring. You need almost like a knuckle duster or like the Hydra pulley or the Camp Gyro, something that has multiple attachment points that you can attach that second DRT line. So I'm going to try out that extra small rigging plate and see how that goes. So I'll have a video on that in a future video. Hope you found that useful, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.